You know, I've attended hundreds of presentations in a dozen or more countries around the world, and of course online. And the one thing most of these presentations had in common was that they were awful! Boring, unstructured, rambling, no clear point, always overrunning their time slot. Why? Why are so many presentations so bad? Well, I think the main basic error is that people will insist on starting with their slides. They think, oh, I've got to do a presentation next week. Where am I going to get my slides? Oh, I know what. I can borrow some of those ones that Ed used last week, yes. Oh, I can pull some from the last monthly report. Oh, and I'll probably take some from the original proposal. And they jam them all into a great heap. The other approach is that people open PowerPoint or Prezi or whatever software you use and just brain dump into it every thought they have. So, oh, here's everything I think of, blah, 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 select it all, make bullet points, and there I've got my slides. And you end up with results like this. So now if I go on to slide 24, oh, you probably can't read that at the back, but what it says is blah, 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 blah. Oh, sorry. And people even boast about the amount of time they've spent on their slides. I was up until 2 o'clock in the morning working on my slides. As if a lack of sleep is going to lead to a better result. So let me be absolutely clear. Effort and time spent on slides does not mean a quality presentation. Often it has quite the reverse effect. People insist on stuffing in slides with all kinds of animations and colours and fonts, and you end up with situations like this. This is the kind of thing you get when a presenter falls in love with all the different transition and animation effects that are available, all the different fonts and colours they can use. And it probably looks great when they're preparing their slide on the big screen they've got in their office. But when you're in the audience and it's being projected on a big screen or through a small conferencing app, you can't make any sense of what's being shown at all. And your audience now has the choice. They can either listen to what you're saying, if they can't be distracted by all of this, or they can try and understand all this junk that's appearing on their screen, or, most likely, they can start thinking about what they're going to have for dinner tonight. Yeah, I think I could finish that lasagna and maybe have... Oh, yeah, sorry. So, no one lies awake at night thinking, the one thing missing from my life is I don't get to see enough PowerPoint. We all know most slides are awful, and yet we insist on doing it anyway. It's almost as if we're thinking, yeah, I know everyone else's slides stink, but mine are rich and clever and interesting. Why? Why do people focus so much on having tons of useless slides? Well, primarily it's nerves. People get nervous about doing a presentation and they think by having all these slides, that'll protect me. I've got all this prop, I've got all this content. Maybe they'll look at all this junk instead of noticing me. Let me be absolutely clear. Your presentation is not the slides. Slides are your enemy, even. Great speakers never needed slides. Did Abraham Lincoln or Winston Churchill need PowerPoint? Of course not. So if you're not going to start with slides, where do you start? Well, you start by using this, okay? Go for a walk, go outside, get away from all your screens, have a think. Think about your audience. Now, I've got another video on communication generally, and I'll put up a link to that at the end of this video. But in essence, think about your audience. Who are they? What are they interested in? What are they motivated by? Most significantly, what do you want them to do as a result of your presentation? Or at the very least, what's one key message you want them to leave with? Because one key message is probably all they're going to be able to take away. So make sure it's a powerful one. Once you've had your walk and had your think, get yourself one of these, a whiteboard. Use it to scrabble down all your ideas, your thoughts, add things in, cross things out, arrows, this sort of thing. When it gets too messy, photograph it, rub it out, start again. And as you keep doing that through a few scribbly whiteboard iterations, your story will start to emerge. Now, you need to start with an attention grabber, something that's going to make people sit up and take notice. That's why you need to think about your audience's motivation. Then through your whiteboard iterations, you've built up the story that's going to lead you to that one key message or action that you want them to take away. Everything else you've got to ruthlessly cut out. Throw away all that content that isn't clearly part of the journey from that attention grabber up to the one key message or action. Everything else has got to go. Now, when you've got that story, that journey, maybe then think about whether any slides will support you. Maybe. Do some rehearsal. Don't over-rehearse so that it becomes too mechanical. Maybe video yourself doing your presentation. No, I don't like doing that. Well, okay, but do it anyway. Maybe get someone to watch you practice your presentation and give some feedback. If you're nervous before your presentation, that's fine. Nerves are normal. They don't make such an impact as people usually think. And what's life without a bit of excitement anyway? If you're presenting in the room, make sure you stand up straight with both feet flat on the ground. Don't be one of these people that ties themselves in knots or who paces up and down looking anywhere but at the audience. I prefer people standing with what I call the weather forecaster position, so that if you've got slides, you can indicate them while keeping eye contact to every part of the room. And it's worth giving each part of the room a few moments of eye contact before you move on to the next one. If you're presenting online, make sure you've got a proper microphone. None of that, "Oh, can you hear me now?" stuff. I recommend getting a proper headset with a built-in microphone. Make sure you're well lit, don't have a distracting background, and make sure you can be seen. I've been to online presentations where all you can see is the top of the person's head. It just looks odd. Now, whether you're presenting in the room or online, maybe think about some slides with just a few simple bullet points like these. So, for example, I know what I'm going to say about budget, and maybe I've got a little graph to show something about that. I know what I'm going to say about staffing, and maybe I've got a picture of the person who's joining us next week. And I know what I want to say about progress. Maybe I can illustrate the project plan with those. Now, having these very simple slides serve two purposes. One, they're all the prompt you need. You know what you're going to say about each of these subjects. You don't need it all written out in a script. That's all you need. Second purpose is it helps your audience come back. When they've started thinking about their dinner, they can say, "Oh, right, we're on staffing. Right, sorry, okay." They know where they are. And it does both those purposes brilliantly without becoming a distraction. Now, your voice. No one likes a speaker who talks endlessly in a boring monotone, so practice putting a bit of music into your voice. Also, vary the pace. You can probably talk quite quickly through a little bit of background information, but then slow right down for your real key message. And don't forget to pause. So, in summary, your presentation is not about the slides. Think of them right towards the end if you need them at all. Start by thinking of your audience and the key message you want to leave them. And remember, the best visual aid is you. This was a video from my channel 5MTC, which stands for 5-Minute Training Courses. Please subscribe for more and maybe find my book on Amazon.